I look at this business as if every day is the first day you opened.
Wow.
So when you have the attitude of every day is your first day,
Mm-hmm.
you're trying the most you can to make sure that things are going right,
Giving it your best.
giving it your best. And I show up, a lot of people say, oh, Richard, you did well in the real estate business. You don't have to work that hard. I show up every single day. I want my staff to know I care.
Sharp and Sharper, the podcast that will elevate your life.
How you doing, Richard?
All right. Well, welcome to Pink's.
Thank you so much for having me.
Come
I'm
on down.
excited to be here. This is the iconic place,
Right.
Pink's in Hollywood, California.
Well, I'll give you a little of the
Is it-
history. I'll show you some of the pictures. Right here is what Pink's looked like in
Oh, wow.
1939.
Wow.
Just a little hot dog cart that my parents bought for $50.
What's going on, everybody? I am with Richard Pink, who is the co-owner of Pink's Hot Dogs. So glad to have you today.
It's great to be with you.
Can you tell me about this incredible business that you have here? How did this start? How did we get to the place where now you're selling 1,200 hot dogs a day? You have over 40 different variety of hot dogs, 10 locations, and off camera you told me that you're in the process of opening 2 to 3 more locations. How did that start?
It started very humbly. It's been in business 85 years. As you know, we just celebrated our
Right.
85th anniversary. But taking you back 85 years to 1939, my parents, who were in their late 20s at the time, were out of work and they were looking for a job in the newspaper. And they didn't find any jobs, but they ran across an ad for a hot dog cart. And my mother said to my dad, no one's hiring us. We can't find employment anywhere. It was really worst times in LA. It was the bottom of the Depression.
Right.
And my dad said, well, how much is this hot dog cart? Do you think we ought to go into business? And my mother says, well, it says it's $50. Maybe we ought to buy the cart. And my dad said, where are we going to get the $50? Turned out my grandmother loaned them the $50. So my mother said, well, do you think we'll do okay? My dad says, look, everyone loves hot dogs. Everyone's got to eat. So let's buy this hot dog cart, find a place to rent, and we'll go into business. And so my mom said, well, the cart was located about 2 miles away. Somebody was selling it. And she says, I'll go down to La Cienega and Melrose, buy the cart, and wheel it all the way up Melrose, because there is a place for rent on the corner of La Brea and Melrose, which is where Pink's is located today. So the rent at that time was $15 a month. So they found the owner of the property, they rented the site, but they realized that there was no electricity there, and this was an electric cart, and so they had to go and buy a 100-yard extension cord, and they plugged into a friendly neighbor's outlet in order to fire up that cart in 1939.
Wow.
And they finally, opened Pink's with a hot dog that they love from the same vendor that we are buying from today. My mother created the recipe for the chili, and she gave that recipe to a chili vendor to say, make this chili for us.
Right.
And Pink's was open, and they were selling hot dogs for 10 cents, and Cokes were a nickel from a little push cart. And so they finally found another job because they couldn't support themselves on hot dogs at 10 cents. And so They worked from dawn to exhaustion. They worked, I don't know, 15, 18 hours a day.
Wow.
And in 1941, 2 years later, the landlord raised the rent from $15 to $25 a month, and they could not afford it. And so, fortunately, there was a Bank of America branch across the street, and they went over to the branch manager and they said, I think we can buy this property. And the manager says, well, do you guys have any collateral? They said, we don't have any collateral. We just have a really good hot dog. And people like it, but, you know, we're just a
Right.
little push cart, and that's it. And he says, well, what do you think you could buy it for? And they said, about $4,000. And he said, I'll tell you what, I'll take a risk on the two of you. I love your hot dogs. I eat there every day, so I don't want you to leave. And I'll loan you the money. And it only took, in those days, it was $4,000 to buy this property.
This property?
This property.
$4,000?
$4,000. I know it's shocking,
Wow,
but that's what it was. So they bought the property in 1941, and the push cart was still there, and they put a little awning over it to kind of celebrate the, the purchase, and
Wow.
that lasted for another 4 years to 1946.
Yeah.
And in 1946, a cousin of ours came along and said, look, I'll build you a hot dog stand right there on your property just to prove I could do it, because I want to go into the construction business. So he said, I'll build it for you for cost. And he built that very stand that you see today. That stand is still
In
here.
the front of the restaurant.
The
Yes.
kitchen, the dining room.
So that's really
all
the
of that.
same.
That's totally authentic from 1946.
Wow. That's
So 1946, they built the stand.
oh
my dad
goodness.
found a couple of people to work there. Business was still slow. I mean, they struggled for the first 10 years. My dad always joked. He said, after 40 years in the hot dog business, you begin to make a few bucks. So they kept it going, and then they opened up a flower shop next door to have two incomes, both from the hot dog stand and from the flower shop. You know, I worked at the flower shop and I worked at the hot dog stand and all that. And so that was around 1948. And that antique store next door is where they had a flower shop for 10 years. So they did two businesses. I mean, this is really from a little bit of scratch to,
Wow.
being able to support myself and my sister
Mhm.
and all that. And so that's how it was all this time. And my parents, they ran it. They were very concerned about good customer service. They were very concerned that people would be happy coming to Pink's. And that's what they taught me. I mean, it was rare when I would have dinner with my mother and father at the same time, because somebody had to be either at the hot
Working
dog
and
stand
managing.
or somebody had to be at the flower shop. So I grew up with that work ethic. I saw that. They didn't take any handouts from anybody, but they were pretty kind people. And so they kept running the hot dog stand until about 1986, and they got into their mid 70s at that point, and they said, we need somebody from the family to come in and take it over, because it's just now the business was starting to get successful. It's more volume, and it's always had to keep people employed there and serving customers. And so they invited my wife to come in, and she was school teaching at the time. She was a school teacher.
Right.
And I met Gloria, my wife, at UCLA. We both went to UCLA.
Oh, okay. You guys are
So
Bruins.
We're Bruins. We're local and all that. And so Gloria left her job, and she came in and took over. And at that point, my parents were kind of backing off, and I said, we really need to expand the menu, make it more interesting, give people more reasons to come to Pink's, more things to talk about. And so, I said, what we got to do at Pink's is we got to create like 8 wows. Every time a customer turns around, I want them to go, wow. So it would be either the Celebrity Wall of Fame, wow, 40 hot dogs on the menu, wow. Staff had been here for 25, 30 years, wow. Authentic building, wow. Nice patio area, wow. I mean, I wanted a lot of wow, and I wanted people to remember us.
And you have that. You
Thank
have
you,
that.
thank you. And so Gloria, ran Pink's, hired people, did everything for 30 years. So that she was
Wow.
very passionate about it. And then around the year 2016, I was ready to retire from my career.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't part of the hot dog business other than overseeing what Gloria was doing and talking to my parents. I was in the real estate investment business. And, so I left that business, retired from it in 2016. And, as you may know, I have an undergrad degree from UCLA, I have a
Mm-hmm.
master's degree from USC, and I have a law degree from Loyola. And I often say that's what it takes to run a hot dog stand today. And so, our business is based on, first of all, a great hot dog, snaps when you bite into it, great chili, lots of variety, Polish dogs, jalapeno dogs, all really tasty, lots of combinations. Takes a great staff. Meet most of our staff have been here 20, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we take really good care. We care about them. We treat them like family, and they don't leave. Most people in the fast food business, you're lucky to have somebody work for you for 6 months. These people have been with us for a year. The authentic atmosphere is great. We got parking, which is terrific. They bought that. Enough property to have parking. And a great location on La Brea where you got 60, 70,000 cars a day. We own the property, so there's no landlord that's going to kick us out. And so fortunately, we've become successful enough where people come to us and say, well, I want to franchise, and we're very careful about who takes over our brand. They have
Has
to,
anybody ever offered like, here, I'll buy this off of you for
we
this
get a
price?
lot of offers like that, but this business to us is part of our family business.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
not something you just sort of sell off. This is
Right.
This took blood, sweat, tears of 85 years of hard work, and it's very rewarding.
It's a
Recently,
legacy.
it's a legacy. When we had our 85th anniversary, we had the mayor of LA come
Mhm.
here. She launched the anniversary. She worked behind the counter, very generous with her time because she recognized how unique it is in a city like Los Angeles with everything was new, popping up, things that were historical get replaced, to honor the fact that there's a business around that a family's been running for 85 years. In fact, about 4 years ago, the Los Angeles City Council designated the intersection of La Brea and Melrose as Pink
Pink Square.
Square
Yeah, I did see that.
because they said, we've got to honor our old businesses that are survived, that are part of the personality, the fabric of this city. And, recognizing it because so many people have come to Pink since the 30s and 40s and 50s, and then they bring their children, and then their children bring their children. And I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and said, my grandfather took me here when I was 8 years old, and I still come every year. Or how many people come to us and they say, we celebrate our anniversary every year at Pink's. And I go, why
Wow.
do you do that? He says, because I met my wife in line.
Right, because every time I come, the line is down the block.
The line is down the
It's
block.
always long.
It's because we have, as a result of Travel Channel, Food Channel, the word got out around the world that one of the highlights of coming to LA is
It's an iconic
Pink's.
place.
You go to Pink's, and the celebrity wall has got over 200 photos of celebrities that have dined here, and it's such an honor, and we're just feel so gratified that people have continued to eat their hot dogs at Pink's.
Yes. That's an incredible story. I think one thing that highlighted, throughout everything that you said is about that the chili is the same recipe that your mom created back then till now. How did she even think of that? Okay, I'm gonna make a chili
Well,
dog
she's
and
going into the food business, and she figured she had to have her own signature on something,
hmm
rather than just go to the grocery store and buy any old chili, if you will.
right,
It had to be special, it had to taste just right, had to be unique. And so that was part of her personality. Even when she was in the flower business, I mean, she created gorgeous weddings with flowers that was her design. So she
yeah.
had a lot of pride. She was quite unique. She was a very strong woman. And she said, well, if we're going to go in, I want people to say, I love your chili, you know? And that became, and the
And they
hot
keep
dog as
coming
well.
back, you see.
And, part of a business is that people want to have some predictability. When I go to Pink's, I want to know what that chili dog's going to taste like. I don't want some new chili. I don't want some new idea on what
hmm
you think is even better. I want the same one. And it becomes part of LA, that chili dog that people know and taste and have been tasting for all these years. Consistency is so important.
Right. So you were young, of course, during the time that your parents are starting this business and they're in LA. This is an era of the Great Depression that's happening. So how was your family, your parents able to sustain that? I know they had multiple jobs, but what was that family dynamic like? Like were you at home where it was only one parent and like what was that dynamic like for
I
you?
think the dynamic was based on survival.
hmm
It was based on no one's going to help us. So we got to do it ourselves. And it was a can do attitude. And it was an optimistic attitude, but it was can do. And so the priority for my family was to keep the business going, keep food on the table for my sister and me, get us through school. In my case, get me through college.
Right.
And that whole attitude probably came from their parents as well. I mean, back in the day, there wasn't welfare, there wasn't Social Security. You were on your own.
hmm
And they were not going to allow life to overcome them. They were going to fight back. They were going
Wow.
to make sure that whatever it took to make Pink successful, whether it was staff that was friendly, whether it was the food that was good, they were going to keep that formula. And they found that formula.
Yeah.
And it carried through to me and my wife and my sister. And I think that it's sort of the story of America, that people came here and they said, I can make it. And that's what they did. And I think it's to be admired, it's to be modeled after, because other people are all wondering, what am I going to do with my life? But if you have that can do attitude and figure it out, how am I going to get that income coming in? How am I going to pay my bills?
Yeah.
They did it. They did it. But they started with nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely hard workers because I mean, working multiple jobs is not easy. They're raising children and they're doing that year after year after year after year consistently. The food quality has remained the same from then till now. I mean, that is an incredible story just to hear and that it lasted so long.
I know, I know. There's
That's
only a few restaurants in Los Angeles
for
that have been
85
around long.
years. That's
85
that's
years.
yeah. You don't see that every day. No,
No,
you
I don't
don't.
think so.
You don't see
No.
that every day.
Well, most businesses turn over because you don't have anyone to pass it on to, or they run into financial trouble, or there's a pandemic, or there's a recession or something that causes people not to be able to hang on. They go into too much debt. My parents never incurred debt. Never. They wouldn't even use a credit card.
Wow.
I mean, that's how conservative they were.
Wow.
They never wanted to owe anybody anything.
Yes. So, what's the secret to keeping the business alive at this stage and so thriving? Because, as I said, every time I pass by, there's a line that sometimes it literally wraps around the building and you can't even get in because there's a long line. How do you sustain that today?
I think that with us, we're sustaining it because our staff is known, and we reinforce that they need to be as friendly as they can to customers. Don't basically don't say no. Everything is yes. Uh, if the French fries, if somebody says, the French fries been sitting and it's a little cold, give them a new set of French fries. Make a customer feel very important.
Mm,
The second thing is that we've got to make sure that all the food is served hot, is served looking good, is served with some degree of pride.
right.
And that's our staff again. Then I'm always adding something to the menu to kind of make it more interesting. So if you came 3 weeks ago, you found out today we have this LAFD hot dog, which we just created to be able to give back to the LAFD for saving us from the Hollywood fire, the
Right.
Sunset Fire. Another important element is charity. We're part of this community, and anything we can do to support local charities, we do that. And I mean, it's not a local charity, but I have a Let's Help Ukraine hot dog on the menu. It's when that Ukraine-Russia
Right.
war broke out,
Hmm.
created this hot dog, and I give all the profits to World Central Kitchen.
Yeah.
Mario Lopez hot dog we put on the menu, and I give all the profits to the Boys and Girls Club of America.
Really.
Now, that is part of being recognizing you have to pay it back. This business, this community has kept this business operating for all this time. But it still comes down to the food. The food has got to be really good. And I'm every day I read my Yelp reviews, I read the Facebook reviews,
Oh,
all
you're
of
in
that.
tuned. Yeah.
Totally in touch with that. And I have a social media director that is constantly posting fun pictures so people think of Pinks. Um, we do the most we can to market ourselves. We never take it for granted. A lot of people say, oh, you got a long line, you don't have to advertise. I don't believe that. I look at this business as if every day is the first day you opened.
Wow.
So when you have the attitude of every day is your first day,
Hmm.
you're trying the most you can to make sure that things are going right,
Giving it your best.
giving it your best. And I show up. A lot of people say, oh, Richard, you did well in the real estate business. You don't have to work that hard. I show up every single day. I want my staff to know I care. And I think I still have the same passion I had, whether it's 10 years ago or Gloria had when she worked here for 30 years.
Right.
A lot of pride, a lot of passion. But if you look at the business as this is the first day you open, you approach it with a certain degree of fear and anxiety that things won't go right. And so
Right.
you're always looking, what can I improve on?
To
What can
make
I
it the
do better?
best. Yeah.
Make it the best.
So tell me, what is your favorite hot dog here? Because you're always adding new things, you're improving. You've had celebrities that created hot dogs. What is your favorite hot dogs out of all the hot dogs you
I
have?
think out of all the hot dogs, you have to start with the original, the
Okay.
chili cheese dog. I mean, I could probably have 4 of those a day,
Yeah.
you know. But all of these other hot dogs, I mean, all have their own appeal, whether you put pastrami on with coleslaw and Swiss cheese or
You even got guacamole. How do you get guacamole on a hot dog?
oh, it tastes great. It does. I mean, we got the Mario Lopez dog, which has guacamole and
You got
sour cream,
everything.
and
Yeah.
you know, I try for everything. I want everything to taste good and to be another reason why you want to come back. I just, it's got to taste great. And, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of hot dog stands that are out there that are trying to make it and, take business and all that. So it's friendly competition as well.
Right. Wow. So tell me a little bit about the culture of Pinks because doing some history and some research, I know back in the day, I don't know if it happens still now, that celebrity wall that you guys have, a lot of actors and actresses would like to try to get their pictures on that wall because directors, producers, what have you are coming in and they're getting hot dogs so they may see these people and put them in movies. How did that all happen? Is that true? Is
Well, it's absolutely true. When we built the current Pinks, which was 1946, which included a dining room, within a couple of days, all of a sudden a picture or two would get tacked up on the wall because
and this is in the
the 40s.
40s.
This
When
is the
before we
40s.
had social media and a lot of the
Where we
stuff that
had
we had.
anything.
Yeah, basically.
So in the 40s, we had people like Howard Hughes, Spencer Tracy, a lot of the famous Orson Welles, who, by the way, I was throw in there, holds the all-time record for the most hot dogs eaten at one sitting,
How
18 hot
is it,
dogs.
and he ate it
He
here.
ate it here. My dad counted them,
Wow.
but he came in. So wannabe actors that were coming to Hollywood trying to get a shot in the movies had heard that these famous people were coming to Pink's for their lunch, and they wanted to get discovered, and they put their picture up on the wall,
Hmm.
hoping that maybe they'd call and say, "Hey, I got a role for you," or I need an extra, or "You're the right kind of face I need in my movie."
Wow.
And so after a while, we started getting so many pictures getting tacked up there. We started framing them so it could look nice. And then some of the famous actors that were coming in were saying, "Well, I eat here. I'll put my picture up there." And no longer do we have unknowns that are on the wall because we got replaced by major well-known celebrities, whether it was in TV or whether they were television, movies. And so, so people like Katy Perry is on our wall, Oprah
Hmm.
Winfrey is on our wall, Jay Leno is on our wall.
Basically, you have everybody on that wall.
Well, we're
It
very
seems
proud of that. I mean, and those aren't just pictures that you buy in a souvenir store. No, they're pictures given to us by the star who writes on it, "Love your dogs, don't ever change," that type of thing.
wow.
Or like Ellen DeGeneres wrote on her hot dogs, "What, you put drugs in those hot dogs? What is? Why do people keep coming back? They
They're
get addicted."
addicting. They're
Yeah,
addicting, man. You have one, you gotta have two or three
right.
more. You
That's
can't just
right.
have one.
Right.
Yeah. So there is a story of a very big name who came here. Former First Lady Michelle Obama came to Pink's unannounced. I was told that Secret Service showed up 10, 15 minutes before she arrived. How did that happen? Did you secretly plan that with them and people didn't know
I
and
People
what
didn't
what, what
know. We
happened?
didn't
And
know.
when did
Okay.
this what year was this?
She came out for a Lakers game, so it was probably about 10 years ago or so. And actually, it wasn't 10, 15 minutes before. We were told by the secret police that was her security detail that they had actually been casing Pinks for 2 weeks to
Hmm.
make sure it was a safe environment for her to come
And you
to.
didn't even know because they're not going to show up,
They
you know.
showed up dressed casually.
Right. And you
We
didn't
didn't
even know.
know.
And they probably ordered something and
Yeah, they made sure that the
wow.
crowd was the kind that would be okay to have a first lady, show up.
A sitting first
And
lady. Yeah.
so this guy who's just actually was wearing Bermuda shorts and a t-shirt went up to my wife and he says, "Listen, I need to talk to the manager." And my wife thought, well, maybe he was going to complain about something. And she said, "Can I help you? I'm the manager." And he said, "Well, I'm with the secret police, and here's my card. And in about 15 minutes, a very famous person's going to be driving up here.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want you to know it's happening. And she said, my God, who is it? I mean, is it the senator? Is it some, the mayor? Who is it? And he said, look, if you live on planet Earth, you will know this person. And about 10, 15 minutes later, 3 Escalades drive up in our rear alley here behind Pink's.
Mm-hmm.
And out steps Michelle Obama, Malia, Sasha, Michelle Obama's mother. They come walking through the parking lot. My wife is totally stunned.
Wow.
Oh my God. She says, oh, Miss Obama, I'd like to, introduce myself. And please, here's a table, and everybody that is in the patio is going, oh my God, that's Michelle Obama. And she took a look at our menu. And what was interesting about her is that she didn't just pick a hot dog that was on the menu. She surveyed it and said, I want a little of this on it, a little of that on it, and a little of this. And we were so amazed that she was able to spot all her
Right.
favorite dishes.
Yes.
Now, the girls at that time were pretty young. And I think one probably had a hot dog with ketchup on it.
Mm-hmm.
Another one had a hot dog with mustard on it. And their mother had another dog that was on the menu. But Michelle picked it out.
Wow.
And we served them that with some fries and some rings. And they were so nice. And I still break up when I tell the story.
Yeah.
All this time.
And they were sitting down here at just a normal table. They didn't
exactly.
leave.
And
Wow.
and well, they were wanding the customers. The secret police were wanding the customers to make sure everybody was safe coming in.
Okay.
They didn't know why they
So
were
everybody
being wanded.
everybody had to be screened by Secret Service. Everybody
Yeah,
was
exactly. And so when they finished and they got up to leave, everybody in the patio, it was full. Everybody in the patio got up and applauded.
wow.
Greatest moment in Pink's history.
Yeah. What's your biggest dream in the future for Pink's going forward? I mean, you've hit so many milestones. You have so many people that have come here. What's
Next
the biggest
week,
thing?
I mean, this gives you a little example. Next week, I'm flying to the Philippines
Wow.
because we have 3 Pinks in the Philippines.
Wow. You have 3 in the, okay, I
We
did not
do.
know that.
There you go. So I'm going to see how they're doing.
What part of the Philippines are they?
Manila.
Okay.
Manila. And our partner franchisee there wants to build more, and he wants to show me the locations. So that's what I was doing. I was going to go to Seoul, Korea first. We're maybe going to open in Seoul, but the deal wasn't far enough along for me to justify the time and expense of going. But I'm still looking at the Korea, and as I said, we were going to be opening in front of a movie theater in El Segundo, just south of LA here. And we're going to be opening at the LA Zoo. We're going to open at 2 new locations in Las Vegas. My goal is I want to bring Pink's to the world.
Yes.
Now, you can't create something that's been here for 80 years. You can't recreate that. You can make it look like it, but this is like the original. This is really authentic. So people still come in from everywhere to want to eat here. But if they can't get here and they want a taste of that snap of the hot dog and that famous chili, they can get it in these other locations.
Mm-hmm.
The only other location I have that's nearby right now is at City Walk.
Okay.
We've been at City Walk since probably 2010. It was funny, the person that launched it, the celebrity that launched our opening at City Walk was Betty White.
Really? Wow.
But Betty White, she didn't want anything on her hot dog, so she had a naked dog. And we always kidded around and said Betty White gets naked at Pink's because her hot dog was naked. But yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, my goal, if I can, but the most important thing is not the quantity of the number of Pinks, it's the quality of each Pink's.
Right. Yeah. That's an incredible story. I'm just so curious that when are you going to star in one of the movies that's been filmed here? You need to have a cameo or something because there's so many films and TV shows and commercials that have been filmed here. I want to see Mr. Pink in a commercial or something here.
Well,
You
I'll be
gotta,
in the background waving just in case they have that idea. But yeah, we've had
yeah,
through the years movies, TV shows. You know, we were not long ago. We were on Lincoln Lawyer. We were on Bosch.
right.
You know,
You're
it's
everywhere.
yeah. Well, you know, if you're going to do a movie and you want to establish that you're in Los Angeles, you generally have to include Pink's because Pink's is in LA.
It's an icon.
Thank you.
It's a landmark in LA. It's, I know for a fact that people come from not only across the country, but I've read that they come from across the world and they want to be at Pink's, which is incredible. I mean,
Well, it is fabulous, and you know, when my wife was running it, she basically called all the radio stations and said, "I'll bring you free hot dogs." So this is part of the marketing. And when they'd say, "Oh, great, I love hot dogs," and then they would say to my wife, "So, tell me about Pink's." And then she says, "Well, we've been around in her days 70 years, 75 years." Oh my God, you got to tell that on the radio. And we found out that our customer base was growing beyond the usual 4 or 5 miles that most restaurants depend on. And people were coming in from where they had heard of Pink's on the
hmm
radio, Ventura, Orange County, and so forth. And so then that kind of built the story. And then probably the biggest thing that happened when cable television came around and they had food channels and travel channels. Well, you come to LA, you know, you see Groman's Chinese and you see some of the famous sites, but they would do something at Pink's, and that went out worldwide. So
wow.
that's why someone will say, you know, with an accent, or maybe they don't even read English. And my
Yes.
staff will listen carefully to what they want, and that's why we got pictures on the menu so that those people that don't speak English can point to what they want.
Yeah, that must be a challenge, but with the pictures, I'm sure it
It
helps a
helps.
lot. What's the biggest challenge in running this business, being a co-owner here? And like you said, you're trying to keep the quality like what it was when it first started. What is the biggest thing?
I think the biggest thing, it's, you know, it's probably not fair to answer that, but every element, whether it's the food quality, the staff, cleanliness, marketing, all of those things become equally important. But I think the probably the most important thing is keeping the staff motivated and keeping their
Mm,
morale up.
yeah.
Because every interaction you have with Pinks probably has to do with the staff. Ordering, getting the food, having someone say thank you, cleaning the tables, you know, sweeping up, all of that. That's part of what you see
Yeah.
all the time. So I can put all these visuals on the wall that, you know, you may take a picture of and everything. But I think it comes down to keeping the staff happy. And hopefully we're doing something right because they've been with
Oh,
us
you
20,
are.
30 years.
You are doing something right. Yeah. Well, why is it so important to keep this business alive and growing to you and to your family's legacy?
I think that it's part of who we are. It's part of
hmm
our identity.
hmm
It's got our name on it. It's what we do. It's our contribution. It's our way of raising money for charities.
Yeah.
It's our way of having fun, connecting with celebrities, connecting with everyday people.
Mm.
Um, it's just part of our DNA. I don't see how we could we could go forward without Pinks being part of who we are. And
Right.
my mother and father established it with just a little push cart.
Yeah.
So there's so much family history connected and so much community history connected with Pinks. You know,
Yeah.
we've had all the mayors here through the years. I mean, you know, it's It's part of who we are. I mean, if you grew up, I think people would just feel this great sense of loss of Pink's just disappeared. It would be a real loss that is part of the predictability. It's every every city needs some kind of landmark that you
Right.
can kind of count on always be there
Something
in
that brings
the
people
landscape
together.
and brings people together.
Yeah. So what's something that a lot of people don't really know about Pink's?
Well, I think a lot of people tell me, I didn't know you had hamburgers on the menu. We
Oh,
got
that's
12
right.
varieties of hamburgers. I mean, they're delicious. A lot of people don't know we have a vegetarian hot dog on the menu. You
Oh,
know, these are things they didn't know. A lot of people don't know that we're open till 2 in the morning on weekends. And, you
yeah.
know, after you finish having fun, partying at a bar or partying at a friend's house and you're still hungry, come to Pink's 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that the owners of Pink's are named Pink.
You know what? When I first met you and your last name was Pink, I was researching. I was like, is that his real last name or did you change it to that?
My parents came to this country with that name.
Wow.
My dad, that's his name.
'Cause they were
And
immigrants,
they
right?
were immigrants.
Yes.
And so I
Oh,
once had a friend of mine who I worked with, so he wasn't like a social friend, but I worked with, and he says, I got to take you to this great hot dog stand. And I thought, well, that's nice. I mean, he's going to show me another hot dog stand. And we get in the car and he drives, and I'm thinking, my God, he's going to Pink's. Does he not know that I'm part of Pink's?
right.
So he gets out of the car and he says, so this is this place. It's really famous, and I'll buy you a hot dog. And all of a sudden the staff says, hi, Richard. He says, oh my God, you've been here before. And I said, what is my name? What is the name on the sign? And he
Right.
goes, oh my God, I can't believe I never put the two together.
Yeah. 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 That's incredible. So where did your parents migrate from?
My father, Romania, my mother, Russia.
Wow. Okay. Okay. What's the thing that gets you most excited about being in this business for you? I mean, it's been so long that you've been doing it as a co-owner and you've been trying new things, having new hot dogs, but what's the thing that excites you the most?
I think the line, not just because they're going to buy a hot dog. That means that many people like it, will wait, sometimes an hour, sometimes an hour and a half.
Oh yeah.
And
I've seen it.
and you know, I read the Yelp review and someone says, I waited an hour and a half and it was worth it. Boy, if somebody says that, it's like makes it all worth it. That means everything worked right.
Right.
The hot dog was good, the staff was good, the tables were clean, the bathrooms were clean, all of it.
So that's why you're working so hard to keep the
Because
standard up.
that's it.
Keep that standard A1. Wow, that's incredible. Thank you for your time.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed talking with you, Mr. Pink. It has been a beautiful journey, an honor to be here at the legendary Pink's Hot Dogs, open for 85 years in the heart of Hollywood. I'm excited. I'm excited
Well,
about our conversation.
Well, thank you for listening to the Pink story.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
an
you.
honor to have somebody still interested in hearing our story and learning about our past and learning about our history.
It is an incredible story to tell, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
We got to get you some hot dogs.
What about this story of, I see this is Michael Jackson up here?
Well, the Michael Jackson story is that he grew up in Los Angeles and his family used to come here and eat. And he's been coming here since before he could see over the counter. because I don't know if this is enough here. Because you said you had a big appetite. So I was kidding before about just taking a bite. I expect you to eat it all.
Oh my Lord. The pressure's on.